Welcome everybody, Chef Katie May here for another episode of Delicious Living. We are going to be having a bit of a different episode today with our guest chef. Our chef is Vesanto Melina. She is a registered dietitian and absolutely fabulous. She's been in the plant-based, whole food plant-based space for a long time. I'm going to let her tell you her story, but I met her at True North Health Center several years ago. We just, when you're in this community, you love to find and be around the community, the people and the places where they're supporting a lifestyle that's plant-based, but also optimum health and supporting us in doing that. So we met at True North Health Center, and to foodies and plant-based lovers, we quickly connected and have been in communication since. But I thought it'd be great to have her on our show and let her give you a little bit of just kind of fun, quick staples that she uses on a regular basis. So she's going to make us a soup, a salad, and a dressing, a really easy dressing that could go with any salad, including the one she's making today. So what is different about today's show? And let me know in the comments and everything where you're joining us from. I'll be here in the comments to let you know. Just checking in and seeing how everything's going. I'll be able to answer some questions in the comments, but what's different about today's show is that we had to pre-record it, because when we connected earlier this week to make sure that all of the logistics were right, we realized our internet connection, whether it was hers or mine, but the combination didn't work well. So there was a lot of downtime and it was difficult to hear. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to give you a seamless experience with her cooking class. So she pre-recorded. I'm going to show you the video in just a minute. And then afterwards, we're going to try to do a Skype call so that she can connect with us and answer some questions. I'm not sure what that connection will be like, but hopefully it's really much better than we had before. And you guys can answer, she can answer some of your questions directly. But I'll try to do my best if there's anything you guys are wondering about throughout the show. And a lot of them I'll just save for the end when Vesanto's here with us live. Okay, so let me know also I want to hear what the sound is like for you when I play the video. So if you could let me know in the comments, that would be great. And yeah, just glad you're all here. Thanks for trying out this new version with me, because I'd love to know what it's like to do a pre-recorded show for everyone, because that would allow us to not worry about the connection as much, the internet connection, when we do these shows. And we could also do, just allows for more flexibility as I record with the chefs, because I'm going to be doing actually a bit more traveling, hopefully starting this month, but then on into 2021 to bring new chefs to you. So let's jump into it. And then the recipe was sent out in the email this afternoon. But if you didn't get that email and you're just coming across our show on YouTube, welcome. We do this every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And if you want to join my email list, then I'll be able to send you notifications when we go live, and you'll get the recipes. You'll get today's recipe sent to you right away. There's 3 different recipes from Vesanto, and that link is in the description underneath this video. Okay. And if you have any questions, let me know by writing question in all caps before you ask the question. That will just help me to skim the comments a little bit faster, even though I like reading everything I don't always get to. So definitely put the question in all caps ahead of your question, and we'll get to it. Okay, so this is about a 35-minute video, and then we'll have Vesanto on live with us to answer any questions. All right, enjoy. Let's see.
Hi everyone, it's a real pleasure to be here on Katie May's show, and I've really enjoyed her work. I am Vesanto Melina, a registered dietitian, and I'm based in Vancouver, Canada, although I have clients all over North America and Europe as a dietitian, and I also have really enjoyed preparing food. And I have quite a number of books out, actually 13 books in 14 languages. And one of the books that we did was the Kick Diabetes Cookbook. And today I'm going to be showing you 3 recipes from that book, which is a real favorite. And it's good even for people who don't have diabetes because it's good for weight management, it's good to reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease, or just if you like the really whole foods plant-based way of eating, because the recipes don't include any oil or sugar and are very low in salt and sodium. So they're really healthy recipes. We also had them tested with quite a number of people. We had really good recipe testers that were, some of them novices. They barely knew how to turn on their stove and were, not that confident in the kitchen. And then we had some real gourmets who suggested little tweaks. And so our recipes are simple and they're also absolutely delicious. I'm also lead author of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics position paper on vegetarian nutrition. So although I'm Canadian, I have been interested in nutrition for decades, really, and in plant-based nutrition more recently. And this position paper, which is on my website, nutrispeak.com, is used by health professionals and the public, but mostly dietitians and doctors all over the world. It's really the go-to paper, really, for health professionals. And it's a good thing to prove to your MD or your mother-in-law that going plant-based can be a very, very good choice. The 3 recipes that we're doing are, first of all, curry in a hurry. And I had the great privilege of living in India for 4 years and it was early on when I was adopting a more plant-based diet myself, and that was a good place to do it. India was a good place to start exploring plant-based nutrition. Well, I did it in North America and in India, but the Indian cuisine is excellent, and many, many people there, a huge proportion of the population, are plant-based. And they figured out wonderful solutions for bringing food to life, bringing the flavor to life with herbs and spices. So the one that we're going to do today is curry in a hurry. And it is fast, it's really fast. So from our Kick Diabetes Cookbook, this is curry in a hurry. It's simple, it just has about 7 ingredients, and it can be made a number of different ways. In fact, you don't even have to include the curry, but it is quick and it's absolutely delicious. So that'll be the first one. And then we're going to do a salad that's called 5-day salad. And that might seem a funny thing to do, but I find when you walk in the door and you're hungry, sometimes you just want something instant, and it really helps to have salad ready and sitting there and instant. And this 5-day salad has ingredients that can last 4 or 5 days when they're put in a suitable container. I use a container like this that has a lid that can burp, that kind of lid. And it's just in the fridge, so I will have salad easily twice a day. And it's always there, it's absolutely instant. And you can add last minute items to it, so we'll go over that. Then the third item we're going to make is a dressing that you'll be surprised at how easy it is. So this is all pretty easy stuff. When we have hummus, used to be that there was one type of hummus, and now there are many, many kinds in stores. Our Kick Diabetes cookbook has a lot of different types of hummus. Well, that's one option, to use one of the hummuses that you make yourself, but also you can make a hummus salad dressing, and you can do that even with a hummus that you just get from the grocery store and add a couple of just simple ingredients. It becomes a high protein dressing. So what we're going to have today overall is a curry in a hurry soup that's high in protein. It's made with lentils, and a salad that's just packed with antioxidants, therefore very anti-inflammatory, and a dressing that's additionally high in nutrients and high in protein. Just to complete a little bit about the books, the Kick Diabetes cookbook is one with no oil, no added sugar, and low sodium. I have another cookbook called Cooking Vegan, which I did with a chef from the Four Seasons, and it has some oil-based recipes, but also excellent high-protein recipes and lots of use of beans and lentils and all kinds of different high-protein foods, and just delicious. And the other books that I have out here are Becoming Vegan Comprehensive and Becoming Vegan Express Edition. So this one is twice as thick as the Express Edition, but they're both really widely considered the classics in plant-based nutrition. The American Library Association calls them the go-to books on vegan nutrition. So these are all just wonderful additions to your library, and they're available in Amazon and on Kindle and all sorts of places. Okay, now we'll start on the soup. Curry in a hurry. Well, it could be considered a soup or a stew. So curry in a hurry could be made on the stovetop, in a pot. I often make a double recipe at least, and then freeze portions. And that's one of the best things to do if you're increasing the legumes, the beans, peas, lentils. Legumes are foods that grow in pods. They all have like a pod with a little zipper, and then the bean or the lentil or the pea inside. And peanuts are in this category too, but we're talking more about the lentils today. And they are high in protein, very low in fat. They have the same kind of protein percent calories as the animal products do. Soy foods are in this category, and the other beans and lentils, but they don't have the damaging fats. They don't have N5G that's linked to cancer. They don't tend to create TMAO, which is linked to heart disease and chronic disease. So legumes, beans, peas, lentils are wonderful foods to add to your diet. And this is just one of the real quick ways to do it. I said lentils, but actually, even within that category, there are many types of lentils. We're going to use red lentils today because they are so fast. They will cook in 15 to 20 minutes. And we could be doing this in a big pot on the stove, and we could do it with an Instant Pot. We're going to use an Instant Pot today, but either way is fine. And I really like the Instant Pot because it allows me to go off. I'm often writing books or doing something else that I want to, and this will cook them just the right amount, but it won't overcook them. It'll turn off when the timing's done. So I really appreciate that because sometimes I get lost in whatever other activity I'm doing, and so this is a real easy way to do it, Instant Pot. But you can easily do it on the stovetop, and it's only like 20 minutes of cooking. So what we do for this recipe is start with our Instant Pot, and we put in water, or we could be using vegetable broth. And we have 4 times as much water as the red lentils. If we were using one of the other types of lentils, it would be a similar proportion, but the cooking time would be longer. So this is a 4-cup measure. This is a 2-cup measure, and I've only got 1 cup of red lentils. So that's in. Then we add some onion. One of the things I learned, I'm a dietitian, not a chef. So I've really enjoyed learning from chefs like Katie May, for example, or Joseph Forrest that I did this cooking vegan book with. So when we chop onions, one of the things I thought was really fun to do was to learn how to chop an onion in the easiest way. And this wasn't a way I expected, but you go on an angle and start chopping. So I'm doing it sort of like every 1/4 inch. And then I turned it around, and then I turn it sideways. So what we've got here is 1 onion. And I'll add this half and then add the other half. And by the way, you'll notice I have 2 cutting boards out here. So I only use this one for onions and garlic, because if I'm cutting up a mango or a banana, I don't want onion and garlic flavor in it. So this is my onion and garlic cutting board. It's a fairly small one, but I use this just for this specific purpose. So I'm just putting the lid on the Instant Pot, and we'll plus the right timing. And this one will cook a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but I'll do the other preparation while this is cooking. So away it goes. Now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the different lentils, because while we start cooking this. And we do have the red lentils that I mentioned. They're wonderful because they're so fast. They're also very high in protein and low in fat. And they have the best type of carbohydrates. By the way, I learned a lot about legumes, beans, peas, lentils, because I tend to have trouble keeping my blood sugar level. My energy could drop and I get hypoglycemia. And legumes, beans, peas, lentils turn out to be the most wonderful solution for that. That's why I eat them quite often, regularly. I mean, you can eat legumes, beans, peas, lentils in a lot of different ways through the day. For example, you could have soy milk on your cereal, or you could have peanut butter on your toast in the morning, and that's a legume. That gives you some staying power. Then at lunch or supper, you could have a lentil soup, you could have a chili, you could have beans, you could have hummus in your sandwich. Lots of different options. And all of these things give you staying power, much more than if you just had a salad or just had some pasta with vegetables. So that really, really makes a big difference. Now the other types of legumes that I've got out here are, we have some beluga, black lentils, and some French or Puy lentils, black lentils. We also have what are sometimes called green or gray or brown lentils. The color changes depending on how newly harvested they were. So these other ones, like the small black ones, tend to take about 30 to 40 minutes to cook, and you can see when they're ready. And the gray, green, brown ones that are a bit bigger, they take about 45 minutes, and it's fine to cook them longer. You just get a creamier result. One of the things, if you're starting to use more legumes, more beans, peas, lentils in your diet, so that you get used to it, is to start with these small ones, not with necessarily bigger kidney beans, and also use smaller amounts to get started. And then your gut microbiota get used to the whole thing. and you don't have any gastric distress. I find the people that have problems with beans maybe are jumping in a bit too fast, having too many, and your microorganisms in your gut aren't used to that, or are undercooking them. That's a big one. I've seen that with kidney beans, for example. The people think, oh, I can't eat beans, it just doesn't work for me. But they were undercooked, and the carbohydrates in there can be difficult to digest when they're undercooked. They should be cooked till they're soft enough to mash on the roof of your mouth with your tongue. Now, it's also fine to use cooked or canned lentils or beans, and they still have the protein, they still have the minerals. So my husband doesn't like curry, and so we'll often have me with this curry soup and him with a really easy soup. This is an organic lentil one, and so we can have our different kinds, but we're still getting this high protein food. The things that we'll be adding a little bit later, now we could have added some soup stock. We just used water, but we could have stirred in some soup stock, and this is a good bouillon. Some of the bouillons have more unfortunate, really not that health supportive fats in them, but this is a good one. And we'll be adding some tomato. I have some tomato sauce. You can use it like a canned tomato sauce. You can use just canned tomatoes, or you could just chop up some tomatoes. So anything like that will work. And then they're added in and just heated up. They don't take a lot of cooking at that point. And then the curry that I like, now there's a lot of different kinds on the market, and you can explore around and see what you like. But this Patak's curry paste is a real winner. When I lived in India, I learned that different families had their secret curry recipe that they would never even tell their neighbors. And I think this Patak family went from India to England and started a company with theirs. And they've ended up with a really good curry paste. But you can explore around and find which one works. And you just need a spoonful of this. And it brings out, now there's a lot of different herbs and spices in this, but it just really brings out the flavor wonderfully. And you can use a little bit or a lot. This is called Patak's mild curry paste, and it's plenty hot enough for me anyway. What we will have in this is some kale. And we could have either spinach or kale or any green that you like. And if you've been looking at some of the videos and online items about health and seeing, for example, Caldwell Esselstyn and how to keep ourselves healthy and reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, he's recommending that we eat lots of greens. And you'll see that with many, many different health professionals. So if you want to have kale, I mean, this just looks like a big rubbery leaf. It's not that impressive. And you wonder, how on earth am I going to use that? But what you do to make it really friendly for your eating habits is to fold it over. So what I did was just fold it in half. I just picked these from the garden a little while ago, so they've got a bit limp. But you cut out the stem, and we'll do this with a few. We want to have about 2 cups of kale, and I chop it for many, many uses. For this, it doesn't have to be quite matchstick thin, but I'm really used to cutting it matchstick thin. And when you cut, you're supposed to fold your fingers back like this so you don't end up including a little bit at the end of your finger. Now, I want to have 2 cups of kale, so that'll take a bit of chopping. And these are different kinds of kale. Jacinto, curly. Kale is wonderful because it grows all through the year, even in somewhat northern areas. Or sometimes it doesn't grow much in the very dead of winter, but it stays in your garden alive. So these were just picked outside, and you can also get it fairly inexpensively at supermarkets all year. So I'll be chopping away at this until I get my 2 cups of the different kinds. So these are the different types of kale. This little curly one's quite fun. I also have kale every day in a smoothie in the morning. Been experimenting, and right now I'm using some kind of fruit like banana or maybe apple or applesauce, and kale, and a bit of orange juice, and some hemp seeds or chia seeds. And that makes a wonderful smoothie in the morning. When we get our 2 cups of kale, then we'll have everything ready for our curry in a hurry. Still a bit more. The kale has really risen to the top as a superfood, but people sometimes don't know what to do with it. We have some excellent recipes in both of our books, The Kick Diabetes and The Cooking Vegan. One other favorite one that I have is called Kale Salad with Orange Ginger Dressing. And it was from a wonderful yoga restaurant that I went to that had created this recipe, and so they let us use it, and I found it one of the very best ways to use kale. And again, when I'm doing it for a salad, I really, even though the lettuce leaves are bigger, I try and get the kale matchstick thin, so you can see what these strips are. I'm cutting them kind of short, so it's not very long to hold up, but they're just little strips, and so people don't get a big rubbery leaf of kale. So there we are with our 2 cups. Maybe I'll add a bit more of this curly one, just because it was there. And all these pieces go into the compost. So we'll continue with that recipe a little bit later, but now we'll go on to the 5-day salad. All right, so I've chopped and added 3 cups of kale to this bowl, and we'll have also some Napa cabbage, or Chinese cabbage, or pichoy. It has a number of different names. And this one you don't have to chop as finely, but these are remarkable because they're very high in calcium, high in available calcium. So spinach has calcium too, but you don't absorb it as well. You absorb about 5% of the calcium. Interestingly, we absorb about 30% of the calcium from cow's milk or from tofu, but with these greens we absorb 50–60% of the calcium. So they're very special greens. Now this one you don't have to cut it as thin. The pieces are really a pleasure to bite. I try and make things what I consider bite size. So when we're chopping, People have different preferences for how big they want to chop things. I tend to I like to get pieces that are what I consider bite size. So they could be this big or a little smaller, but people have different preferences for how big they want to chop it. And this Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage is a very good one for calcium. So this 5-day salad that we're making could be your bone saver for your later years. I got interested in this because I'm 78 now, and when I was around 50, I had osteopenia, which was like borderline osteoporosis. And I really wanted to be careful that as I got older, I wouldn't develop osteoporosis. So I started being careful about calcium, about vitamin D, and making sure that I had the different vegetables, and also did weight-bearing exercise every day. So this is going into the bowl as well. I'll tip it up, and you see we've got the calcium and the Napa cabbage. And then we've got 2 more things to go into this. One is romaine lettuce. So these were specially chosen because these greens will last easily for 5 days. And that means that, if you make it on the weekend, say you're working all week, you'll come home from school or your job or whatever you're doing, and you walk in the door and your salad's ready. So I usually chop it lengthwise and then do it crosswise. Again, it doesn't have to be the little tiny pieces like kale because they're nice to bite into. So romaine lettuce lasts very well. And we get a pretty mix of different greens in this salad. And I've suggested about 3 cups of each, but that was just because recipes want exact numbers. But you don't have to do exact numbers for a salad. You can do kind of whatever you've got. So now our romaine lettuce is going in. And there's one last item, and this is because it's fun to add some color. Now when I'm cutting a Napa or a cabbage, sometimes it's good to cut it this way. Because it makes it more solid for cutting. I'm going to cut this way just because I do have a bit of a solid base. And you'll notice that I'm cutting very, very thin. So this is really for color and for aesthetics, the red cabbage. So I like this particularly. So we're just going to have 1 cup of this red cabbage. And it's cut in quite small pieces. So we have, yes, about 1 cup here. And our salad is ready, except for being tossed. But we toss it and have a lovely colorful mix. Now, this can go directly into our bowl, and when it has this lid on it and is refrigerated, it will easily last for 5 days and it won't look brown and wilted. When it comes to serving it, for example, I had made a little bit extra. I like this salad, you can tell. Then I will add, for example, some tomato or some red pepper, by putting some red pepper strips. But these only need to be added at the last minute. The tomato and red pepper do not last 5 days. So we definitely don't want them in our 5-day salad in the fridge for 5 days. They're just pretty additions to when we're serving it. All right, so here's our salad, for example, with the red pepper on it, or we could put the cherry tomatoes. Okay, our next recipe, real quick, is a hummus and lime dressing. And here we have half a cup of ready-made hummus. So say you were going to invite you to a party, you had your 5-day salad ready, and you just take a bit of hummus. And we combine this with water. And some lime juice. We could either blend this. This is a 2 tablespoon measure. Lime juice. We could use fresh squeezed lime, but I find this Santa Cruz Organic to be a very good brand for having a wonderful flavor. And we could add a teaspoon of either turmeric or dill, depending on what your preference is. I'm going to add turmeric, good anti-cancer food. And then, by the way, I label all my spices on the top. And this is a good way, if you've got a big drawer and have lots of spices, you can figure out what you've got when you do it that way. And then I just whir it with my whisk. And we end up with a smooth dressing. Now we can also do this in the blender, and it works either way. So our dressing is now whisked together. It's a lovely golden color, and with dill it would have little green flecks. But you can see that's quite a quick one. There are other types of hummus we could use too, like a red pepper hummus. So when we've got our salad ready, we can just have our dressing and it's ready to serve. Okay, for our curry in a hurry, it has cooked. It's 15 to 20 minutes and it's all ready. The lentils have become very soft, and we're going to give it some texture now because we're adding some kale, and this will go into the hot soup. It can either cook a few minutes or it'll just melt in. We're adding some tomato sauce this time. We could have had fresh tomatoes or canned tomatoes. We also add one of the stars of the show, the curry paste. And we'll add a tablespoon and a half and get this well mixed in. So there's a tablespoon, and I really like this. You can add a little bit more or a little bit less, or try it out and see what you think. Now we will add a little bit of salt, just like half a teaspoon, and that's optional because there's so much flavor. And we could add a pinch of pepper. As before, we've got the labeling on the top. So a pinch is apparently a 32nd of a teaspoon, but I'll just add a little bit there. So now we have our wonderful, flavorful curry in a hurry. And if you have some leftovers, for example, I have some cauliflower here, that was cooked from another meal. That could be added as well. It's optional. So this curry can go in a lot of different directions depending what you add. So we'll add the cauliflower, and voila, we are done. So here's our curry in a hurry soup or stew, and we have our complete meal. And you could have rice as well at this, or some toast, or just have it like this. It's a high protein, lots of protective antioxidants, and a wonderful dressing. So my websites are nutrispeak.com and becomingvegan.ca and the Kick Diabetes Cookbook. And my books are done with a wonderful dietitian and speaker, Brenda Davis. The Kick Diabetes book and the Becoming Vegan books. And the chef book is with Joseph Forrest. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Ooh. Welcome back. What was that like for you? All that food looks so good. I love just being able to enjoy the demo and not engaging. That was kind of nice. Well, engaging with everyone in the comments, but I can't wait to make that curry. I'm going to give Vesanto a call, see if she can join us. So we are on live. Oh, let's turn down my volume. Hello, Vesanto.
Hello.
We just need your camera. We don't see you.
Okay.
Let's see.
Camera.
No, you closed it.
How do I do it?
So it worked out well, the show. Everyone loved your dishes, the curry, the salad,
Okay.
and the easy hummus recipe. Oh, yeah, we just see, it's kind of like a blurry screen. We've got some questions for you. Anyone, if you have questions for Vesanto, let us know in the comments and I will be sure to ask. So.
Oh, I see you got the wrong camera.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And again, if you can put say question before you ask the question, that will help draw my attention to it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Well, we just see a little bit blur.
Katie, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Do you want to just talk?
So I can be a ghost, faceless
Yeah.
ghost. And also, will you repeat the question? And the camera will probably come on in a moment.
Yes, no worries. Yeah, I haven't said any questions yet. I was just buying us time. You still there? We can hear you. Vesanto? Did we lose her? We could hear you, but now you're silent. So I'm not sure if you put your mic on mute. Did I just? Okay, so everyone, her website I have here. I'm going to paste it in the comments again. I pasted it earlier, but we'll get that to you again. I hope she can connect again. Vesanto, we can't hear you.
She's going to try to connect you.
Oh, there you are. I hear Pam.
And call.
Okay, I'll just. Oh, we lost her. Okay, so that didn't work as well. Everyone, there's a lot of questions. So, we're going to ask about the Instant Pot, how long she made it in the Instant Pot. Oh, it's hard to read questions and um, answer her at this time. She looks amazing for her age, doesn't she? So it's this lifestyle on top of other healthy habits that create health. It's not pharmaceuticals. It's not medicine. It's not doctors. It's your healthy lifestyle. So you guys have that power. So it's really, really awesome that you guys enjoy the cooking show so much, regardless of how many you've seen. Just keep coming back again and again. The cookbook she mentioned, I have one here. Where'd it go? I have her diabetes cookbook, Kick Diabetes Cookbook. And it's really beautiful pictures in addition to lots of great information from nutrition information, tables about cooking grades and everything.
Hey, how
Oh,
about
there you
now?
are. Fabulous. I was just showing off your book.
Oh,
Recommending.
that's great.
I know people are already in Amazon buying it. So, beautiful office. Nice to see your face.
That's right. Yeah, I've got all my dietitian credentials here, and we also won a lot of awards, so we've got them on the walls too. So people ask some nice questions, eh?
Yes. Well, one I was just speaking to was how great you look. And
Okay.
someone was wondering about your bone density. You mentioned how you were
I
eating more
managed it.
greens and everything. How is it doing? How is it doing and
Yes.
how to improve?
In 28 years from the osteopenia, I've just kept it level. Like I haven't, and apparently osteopenia is not a disease. It's just a warning that you need to be careful. So what I did was, first of all, I addressed calcium and made sure that I got up to the recommended levels. And that's usually just having like one additional calcium, about 250 to 350 milligrams. Calcium would be as big as a golf ball if you took the whole recommended intake and you could never swallow it. And the second thing I did was make sure I get vitamin D. And that's, I found even when I was in Honolulu or Italy in the winter, in the fall, I wasn't getting vitamin D. But apparently in cities that have smog, you miss getting the vitamin D. Or people that just drive into their carport or into their office building. So I made sure I got vitamin D up to the recommended levels. And third, I do weight-bearing exercise. And it's worked. And by the way, with age, I have an ambition to get to be a 118-year-old vegan. And I want all the people who are, doing work for the environment, for animals, for just being healthy, to be really shining examples. I think that's important.
I completely agree. That's so funny because my goal is to get to 116 because that would put me in 3 centuries.
Okay. Well, I was going to go for 105 and then I upped it a while ago. Yeah.
I love it. And if we make it that long, there's a good chance you can make it even longer because the technology just keeps advancing.
Okay, let's do a show then.
Speaking to that, there's so many questions, but I'll try not to jump around too much. Someone's wondering about, I mentioned doing other things for a healthy lifestyle aside from just a healthy diet. Off the top of your head, what would you recommend to reach that 118?
Getting a good sleep's helpful. And I sometimes use audiobooks to fall asleep. I get audiobooks from the library, and there's something called Libby. You get free audiobooks, and you can just from your library. And like if my mind's worrying about some little thing that's bothering me, I can fall asleep listening to an audiobook.
Yes.
And
I love listening to positive affirmations. Sometimes I just play something and I download it so I can turn on the airplane mode and just listen to something.
Right.
But sleep, mindfulness, moving your body, not just exercise, but moving on a very regular basis.
Even in COVID, I've had Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. We pay our teacher, our same teacher that we went to before, and we Zoom in. I'm the host for that Zoom. And another thing is I live in community. I live in co-housing. So we have
Oh.
31 households, and we have a courtyard. We have, we're actually having an event tonight that's about Black Lives Matter. It's from 6:30 to 7:30, and people get together, and they're all distanced. We haven't had any COVID outbreaks. People are careful about that, but we still meet. We also have music every Friday night. People play. We've got a symphony bass player here, and I think that somehow having community, and our plant-based
So
people
important.
have kept together. You know, going out to parks to meet near a little food truck, or just thinking up fun
Yes.
stuff.
I can't wait to start more of a plant-based community here, my new area. So, back to some food questions. Someone
Okay.
was wondering about spinach and the oxalate concern. Is that a bother for people with kidney stones?
It absolutely is. And my husband has had kidney stones, and apparently it's worse than having pregnancy birth pains. It's really bad. I've been around him and had that. So we avoid spinach like anything. We also avoid chard and beet greens and rhubarb because they all have oxalates. Now I can eat those things and they're wonderful, but the calcium is bound to oxalate. So don't use those.
So if you are taking someone that wants to take calcium, what kind of calcium would you recommend?
Well, I've seen the absorption differences are not that big. It's like 23% absorbed versus 26%. Like the kind that's in fortified orange juice is apparently very well absorbed. Calcium malate, citrate malate is good, but they're all pretty good, and it's practically like eating a piece of chalk. Like, just
Not very appealing.
well, I know, but you just swallow this little pill, and the different kinds of calcium are fine, actually. Yeah.
What about?
Oh, and one thing, if you use non-dairy milks, be sure to get the fortified, the enriched ones. They have calcium and vitamin D, and you're having that. You have your cup of tea a few times a day. That's a good way to absorb it.
And this is for people who are not getting as many greens. Otherwise, you could get your calcium from greens, or do you recommend?
No, you'd have to eat like a whole wheelbarrow full of greens, really, to get.
So you do recommend a calcium supplement for?
Or at my age, 1,200. Okay. Yeah, I think eat the greens, eat the calcium set tofu, eat if you get orange juice, get it fortified with calcium, tahini, almonds, almond butter, lots of sources, but top it up because I do consults with people. I help them. They send me their food record and I do a nutritional analysis. I hardly ever find anybody that gets enough calcium just from food. Unless they've been reading our books and totaling up things, or just.
And is that based on our RDA here in America?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is. I'm saying to get up to recommended levels.
Okay.
Now we may not need that much. The British levels
That's what I was
significantly
understanding.
lower, and they seem to do okay. But I've tried for the recommended levels.
Okay. Thank you for that. The curry you cooked on the stovetop, you said you would cook it on the stovetop for 30 minutes, but is it right that you mentioned in the Instant Pot just 15 or 20?
Yeah, I actually turned it off at 20, and it said 30, it was going to go for 30, but when we took a little break there and stopped it, so it actually went for 20, and it was perfectly well cooked enough. Now I could have started it again or just put it on warming and added the kale and cooked it a few minutes but it was just 20.
Yeah, I have a dal soup recipe too, and I do 20 minutes, so that works. What are your thoughts on organic lentils, and how important is that to shop for organic?
It is actually very important, I think. We have to it's better to eat lentils if you can, just afford the non-organic. But I think for several reasons, the pesticides that are used, that whole industry came out of the warfare, nerve gas, all those toxic chemicals for humans. They just moved over after World War II into the
They so did.
pesticide industry and made things that would kill cells. So those pesticides are not our friends. And we should be choosing organic. And there even been one study where vegetarians had relatively high levels of pesticides. And it's because they were eating all these plant foods that were not organic. Right. So I think it's a good idea. Like, don't drive yourself nuts with it. And things like bananas where you peel it, you don't have to. Although I still like to when I can afford
you're
to.
You're supporting a totally different industry, and people that care at a different level for the environment and everything. So even if there is a peel on it or something like that, yes, I agree. If you can, to buy organic.
Yeah, just do your best. Yeah.
But I know some people have a lot more limited access to things, to different.
That's right. Yeah. And another
options.
thing, we live in co-housing. We have 2 greenhouses. We have little pots of plants. We have kale all over the place. Like, if you can just get on your balcony, even if you've hardly got anything. I think you saw in that video I had rows of tomatoes ripening on the windowsill, and the kale was from just outside the door.
Yes.
So it's good to do what you can that way.
Especially here in Seattle in the winter, we get our greens year round. So I'll definitely be continuing my garden, trying my best because I am brand new at that. But when you're making the curry, you use curry paste. Can you speak to, if people don't have curry paste, would a curry powder be an option? What's the difference, and how do you substitute if you were going to do that?
With the curry powder, you bring out the flavor by cooking it in a bit of oil. And the flavor is released by cooking it that way. Now, I just thought the Batax people were brilliant, whatever spices they put together. So some curries I've done, and you go, that was okay. I just thought they did a really good job. And they'll never tell you what the combination was. But so there's all different kinds of curry pastes, and people could explore around a little bit. But dry curry would work as well. It won't bring quite the depth of flavor. Yeah.
I think I got started when I was coming into the plant-based world. I quickly tossed my curry paste that I absolutely loved, but I tossed it because it had salt in it. So being a True North instructor, I had to completely eliminate all salt from my kitchen. Otherwise, I would find little nuances, little reasons to justify it here and there. So I eliminated it altogether, and then after years of learning how to do this without salt, I've added in a couple options like the curry paste. But because my go-to for so long was curry powder, that's what I do, and I haven't used oil to bring out the flavor more so, and it works fine. But yes, if someone was using a little bit of oil, that would bring out the flavor more. But if you can get a curry paste that is oil free and does have a little bit of salt,
it does have a little bit of oil, but
I've seen a couple without oil though. But even then, it might not be listed on the ingredients, right? They might be.
It's way low down in the list. Yeah.
Okay. Well, someone had a question about when you're preparing your salad. Do you keep a paper over top of it or underneath the salad to keep it fresh? How do you store your greens to keep it the most fresh?
I have those green bags. So that seems to work. The ones that kind of breathe a little bit. Yeah, that's what I've used. But I think there's a lot of good ways. You may know more about that than I do.
I have the green bags like you're talking about too. I don't know the exact names of them, but I also put them in OXO produce keeper containers that have it's a mesh container inside a plastic container, so it allows more air circulation.
Air circulation.
That's helpful. But your your salad idea of just choosing the salad varieties that last longer. I love that idea, mixing them all together, and then that will last you for days and you can just add whatever you like. That's a fantastic idea.
We also sometimes called that a calcium food salad because the Napa cabbage and the kale have 60% of the calcium's absorbed, whereas in cow's milk it's only 30%. So it's a really good bone building salad as
Yeah.
well as being a 5-day salad.
So that's perfect for our talk here today. Do you have a curry paste you recommend? Is it the Patax?
It's called Patax, and it
Patax?
wasn't available in the States. I used to look because I've done many events for dietitians and the public in the U.S., and it was in England, it was in Canada, where I live, but it wasn't in the U.S. But I just looked lately, and it came up in the States too. So it's Patak, and I use the mild curry paste. The hot would be way too hot for me. So it's online.
I'm not a heat person either. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I just put out any last minute questions. People can let us know, but go ahead.
People can look at our websites, becomingvegan.ca. We have some video clips, and my co-author Brenda Davis, and nutrispeak.com, and I do consultations, and we have a Kick Diabetes Cookbook website.
Yes.
So I have 3 websites.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't share those. I just shared the second one, Kick Diabetes
Cookbook.
I
can't remember if it's the Kick Diabetes Cookbook or just Kick Diabetes Cookbook.
Is it .com? You guys, I'm putting one in here. You might need to adjust this. It might just be kickdiabetes.com. But do you soak the lentils before cooking?
Sometimes, and it does apparently increase the mineral availability slightly, and it may make the lysine more well absorbed, but I don't always.
Okay. So great to have you on, Vesanto. I'm glad it worked out. Thank you for doing the pre-recording for us, so we had a great experience without any interruption. And today, once we got the video figured out, this was great too. So now we know that in the future maybe we can do more shows together.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of your valuable insights and information and recipes. I'll be making the curry this weekend.
Oh, good.
So
thanks, Katie.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Definitely check out the websites. They're all in the comments. And we'll see you next week for another show of Delicious Living. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.